Hi, everyone. I'm Jenna Paone from A Mighty Blaze, and I'm so thrilled for today's celebrity conversations with Elinor Lipman and the woman of the hour, Elin Hilderbrand, Queen of the Beach Read. We are here to celebrate her new release, 28 Summers, and to chat and have fun. Welcome, ladies. I'm so thrilled to have you both.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thrilled to be here.
Yay! We're going to have a great talk today. These two women are absolutely fabulous. I literally have, you'll see, a bio page that is ridiculously long for both of them. I'm going to try to say it real quickly so I can get all of their accolades in. First, I'm going to start with Elinor Lipman. Elinor Lipman has been called many things, and all of them are delightful. She's been dubbed our modern-day Jane Austen and has also been called a fairy godmother to so many writers whom she so generously helped. At the ripe old age of 28, she enrolled in an adult education creative writing course at Brandeis and began publishing her stories and then her novels, including Then She Found Me, which took Ellie, what Ellie calls a mere 18 years to find its way to the screen. So we'll be talking about this because Ellen has a similar journey to the movies. But it became a major movie starring Helen Hunt, Colin Firth, and Matthew Broderick. Elinor is the recipient of the New England Book Award for Fiction for a body of work. The year 2007 brought two awards, a Lifetime Achievement Award from the New England Library and Information Network, created to recognize the contributions of an individual associated with New England who has significantly advanced the arts and letters. And My Latest Grievance won the Poetry Center's 2007 Patterson Fiction Prize, awarded annually for a novel or collection of short stories, which the judges deem to be the strongest work of fiction published that year. She is the author of 14 novels, and her latest, Good Riddance, has been selected by Library Reads as one of its top 10 books for February, and by popsugar.com for its best books of winter list. Says the Wall Street Journal, true to form, Ms. Lipman blends a pair of highly appealing love stories in this farrago. The author has long been one of our wittiest chroniclers of modern-day romance. And now we have the woman of the hour, Elin Hilderbrand, who holds a special place in my heart as a writer of beach fiction. When you think of Nantucket, the name that comes to mind is Elin Hilderbrand. And I think everyone could agree with that. I think you're single-handedly responsible for, like, Nantucket was always a popular place, but I think it's taken on a whole other life thanks to you. The #1 best time selling author of 29 books and the official Queen of the Beach Read, she spent her first childhood summers on Cape Cod until a summer when she was 16 that she spent working in a factory that made Halloween costumes. She promised herself that the goal for the rest of her life would be that she would always have a real summer. That meant moving to Nantucket in July of 1993, where she began her extraordinary career. Her novels are written in the sand, literally. It is well documented that she loves writing longhand on the beach, preferably with a great sandwich and a stack of books by her side. Hilderbrand is a graduate of Johns Hopkins and the Iowa Writers Workshop, which is where you began your work on your first book, The Beach Club, while you were missing Nantucket and the coast and home. Her latest novel, 28 Summers, is about a secret love affair that spans the years. Based on the beloved film Same Time Next Year, the couple in Hilderbrand's novel meet one weekend every year, even as they continue their separate lives with marriage, spouses, and children, until one summer, this summer, when everything is about to change. Although Hilderbrand is known for her summer books, she also has her popular winter series, which includes Winter Stroll, Winter Solstice, Winter Storms, and Winter Street, as well as the Paradise series, Troubles in Paradise, What Happens in Paradise, and Winter in Paradise. Raves Elizabeth Egan from the New York Times, pick up any one of Hilderbrand's books on a grim, cold, what do I have to look forward to kind of day, and you will be transported to a land of perpetual sunshine, afternoon sails, and well-appointed beachfront homes. Her latest, 28 Summers, is no exception. In fact, this sweeping love story is Hilderbrand's best ever. She is the rare writer who can produce more than one book a year without sacrificing quality. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So
That was
welcome.
beautiful.
And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Elinor and let her start asking Ellen those questions. Let's put you in the hot seat, girl. Let's do it.
I'm going to put glasses so I can do a better job reading my questions. So, Ellen, so Now, you have to answer this, I'm sure, every day of your life. So we're going to dig a little deeper because you write 2 novels a year, and you have to tour, quarantines notwithstanding. So the first part of my question is to really just dig down about time management. I really want to know how you do it. So I want to know, like, I get up at 6, I get up at 7, I make a bagel,
Gotcha. So I get up very, very early. Today I got up at 5. Generally, summer, I get up at 5, between 5 and 6. And I get a chunk of, not so much, I don't do any composing in the morning because I'm too sleepy. I used to drink coffee. I stopped drinking coffee in January as a resolution. It's going really well. I'm now drinking tea. I make a cup of tea, and sometimes I type, but I'm very productive, and then I do my exercising. And this is like the secret weapon to my day because I exercise, and I exercise an absurd, I have a Peloton now in quarantine. I have a Peloton bike. Then I go for a run, and then I take a bar class. So I have 3 sections of my exercising. It takes 3 hours, which is an absurd amount of time, but it gives me a chance to like clear my head, and I do a lot of thinking, and it's a discipline. And this is the most important thing, is the exercise is a discipline that sets up the rest of my day. So I never ever take a day off. And then normally between 10 and 11, I get into my writing. My writing day in a perfect world where I have no interruptions is between 11 and 6. And honestly, Elinor, I find I'm most productive between 3 and 6. And I do take a nap. I have a pool in my backyard, so sometimes I go for a short swim. I make myself a lunch, and I read. I read during my workday, and I read. I'm a very disciplined reader, and we can talk about that later. But I try and get 3 hours of composing done in a 7-hour period. And if you compose for 3 hours a day, 365 days a year, you can write 2 books easily.
It's even better than I had hoped for. I wanted it minute by minute. That's excellent. So I just want to say that before we were doing this, or in fact, just today, I said to the significant other partner, she writes 2 books a year. And he said, oh, she bangs them out. I said, no, they're not like that at all. That this is, and in fact, talking about 28 Summers, that there is this complexity to the canvas in a very good way. I never had, and I'll try not to give anything away because I know it just came out on the 16th, but the canvas is just so well painted and, as I said, complex, that I love. There's, our foreground characters, and I will say maybe, I think that's not giving much away. Mallory, Jake, Leland, don't tell me, Leland, Frey in a way, but anyway, but then I so liked suddenly a new chapter opens and I'm getting a little snippet about somebody's parents, and I find it's a very unusual thing. And Elmore Leonard once wrote this famous line about he tries to leave out the parts that people skip. And that, I don't have to worry. You don't make me skip anything. But let me look. Okay, I'm going to check. Okay, so the omniscient narrator, I love the way it starts the chapters. So we get really italicized directly from you, but a summary, just a proper noun or a noun or a verb about what happened that year. So could you just talk about, because I'm doing all the talking now, I apologize, but my guess is you didn't do that at the beginning of every chapter. You did all that research, historical research. Did you?
Well, okay. So to back up just a smidge, the book is based on the movie Same Time Next Year. And Elinor, have you seen that movie? Okay.
I'm sure I did. What was it? Yes.
I'm going to refresh your memory. So it was written as a play, And because it was written as a play, it only has one set. It has like 1.5 sets. So the entire movie is filmed it's kind of like a Neil Simon play. It's filmed in their hotel room because they meet in the hotel dining room. So it's 2 sets, it's the dining room and the hotel room. And that's really the only place that the whole movie takes place, in this hotel room where they're conducting this affair year after year. Between years, they run a film montage of everything that happened like in 1965. Because the movie, the play takes place between 1951 and like 1970. So they run a film montage in between the years in the film. And I thought to myself, I can do that verbally. I can run a film montage of everything that happened in the year at the beginning of each chapter. Of course, funny, not funny story is that I started with 2020, and I thought that the only story in 2020 was going to be the election. So initially, when I wrote that front piece for 2020, it said, oh, and the only thing we're talking about this year, no one's talking about anything but the election. So my copy edits were due. I don't know. I handed them in. And then on the 25th of March, I wrote to my copy editor and I said, I have to fix that ASAP because it's going to feel like an anachronism if I do not include COVID. And even like I put Kobe Bryant in there and social distancing and Zoom and TikTok and all the things that are happening in 2020 that are like so bizarre. And in fact, I just added George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery to the electronic version because like I couldn't get them in the print, but I put them in the electronic version, but I wanted all these things to be in the book. But I did. So I did them at the beginning of each chapter. I thought, okay. And that, it also, Elinor, served to get me in the mindset of that year because you forget. I mean, there's no way you can remember. So
I had another experience, which was, and I don't want, and I hope the word educational is okay to use, but I would do things like when I got to 2004, I remember thinking, what? Janet Jackson with the exposed nipple, right? That's what happened. That was 16 years ago. You're kidding. I would have guessed 5 years ago. And that kept happening. It was like the passage of time. I can't believe it. That was 10 years ago. That was 16 years ago. So I was finding that it was like my Cliff Notes.
I know. I felt that way too. I was like, Monica Seles got stabbed in the back by her crazy fan in 1990. Like, remember that? Like, just like the things that were so important, but it's also like a good lesson in perspective because there were things that happened, in 93 that seemed like very big deals. And now it's 27 years later and it's like, oh my gosh,
Yeah, no, I really liked it so much. And that particular thing and everything. Okay, so let me see. Now this is out of order. Okay. I'm going to bring up, because I don't think it gives too much away, but I was particularly fond of Mallory's brother, Cooper. And because I found, without, telling too much, that the recurring incidences of his life, weddings, it would seem Shakespearean. It seemed like Twelfth Night where some musician kept reappearing. And the other thing that was, I think, true of the book, in general, the characters, that even when people deserved your snark, I mean, here was a brother, reveal, who had a very active social marital life. So there was some, very ironic, funny things about the women he chose and the spellings of their names. I appreciated that. Yet she loved him. She loved her brother. And I think you loved Cooper and I loved Cooper. But were you, that recurring thing, was that just kind of happened? It just unfolded?
It did. Okay, so, and it's so funny, Elinor, because if you think of it, now that I'm looking at you, I'm like, really, that's an Elinor Lipman thing to have someone who's been married in the book who's been married 5 times. I mean, that's like a comedy of errors, funny thing that is something that I could see in one of your novels, which I'm so glad that you appreciated it. in the in the very first page or second page, I make a comment that he's been married 5 times, and I hadn't planned for that to happen, but it's okay because on the first page you find out he's been married 5 times because you start at the end.
You know,
and she says he gets married and divorced more than most, like other people eat Triscuits. And
I remember.
And so then I put that in right away because I thought, okay, that's going to be Cooper's thing. But I just invented it on the spot. And then I realized that this is a chance for Mallory, because Mallory is Cooper's sister and Jake is his best friend, for them to interact. And that relationship, Cooper's weddings become a very big deal the further we get into the book, as far as Jake and Mallory are. And so it was a device that allowed me to like bring them together. I didn't want to have a novel where the only time we were with the characters was when it was summer and they were together in summer. I wanted to really make it rich and diversify. And I loved bringing in the minor characters for their own, like Fifi. So there's a Haitian lesbian novelist who is literally the most fabulous person probably in the entire book. And she gets her own chapter. And I love being able to do that.
Yeah. And, in that chapter, and again, I'm aware of people not having read the book, so I'll be careful. But when I hear that she herself is going to Nantucket, and I'll be quick about this, I think, wait, would she do that? Do I believe that? But then at the very end, she gives 1 sentence explanation of why she's done it. And, and I felt that was very true. Okay, let me see. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. So I wanted to ask about what might have been a possible sort of narrative worry that right and wrong, that these are such sympathetic characters, Mallory, Jake, and you had to say to yourself at some point, will the reader accept the adultery, or whether they saw that as, like breaking the marriage vows, the commandments, sinning. So just a little bit about what you said, like a good angel and a bad angel might be perched on your shoulder.
Right. So first of all, I based it on an existing movie. So
yes.
And I actually, like, when I watched that movie, like, I am kind of like, what are they? Because they are really into it. They have much less, they have many fewer crises of conscience than Jake and Mallory do. Jake and Mallory are constantly plagued with a crisis of conscience.
Yeah.
Which I think is necessary. In the movie, they have zero. Well, I think at one point Alan Alda does have like a freak out and almost leaves, but then he comes back. So it's based on an existing sort of plot. So I had that to rest on. Okay. So I thought, okay, whatever. Then I go back to, I think it was Sting give an interview. It was a musician. It was a very popular rock musician. I believe it was Sting. And he said, there are 2 kinds of songs. The first kind of song is I love you. And that's a good song. The second kind of song is I love you, but you love someone else. And that is a better song. And as far as novels are concerned, writing about a happy marriage is not interesting, and it does not make you turn the pages. And so you need to have the drama to get the reader interested. And I do feel like, because I loved Mallory and Jake so much and gave them my love, that the reader will sympathize with them. And they're not, I think we all know they are not bad people, but they have this thing that is happening. It was necessary for me to sort of even it out. And I don't, we don't want to give anything away, but I did want to even out the playing field as far as the third person was concerned.
If I could interject, I have a question for both of you, because on that, what you just said, Ellen, one thing I see in your work over and over and over is that idea that people are fallible, and everyone is fallible, and everybody has, their conflicts and their things that they do wrong and things that maybe are not so great, but good points. And, and Elinor, I know in your writing the same thing, the kind of, when you're examining modern people and contemporary worlds, you have to allow them to be human, right? And I'm wondering if that is something that guides both of you, that you think about actively, of how do I balance this? How do I balance the that fallibility with these good qualities to make sure that they're likable but flawed and create the conflict?
I'm usually told I don't have too many sort of emotional villains. It's considered comedic. So there's usually, an obnoxious character that my character is rubbing up against, or often a difficult mother. That's good. And I read the wonderful Carol Shields had a very slim biography of Jane Austen. And after I'd written a couple of my books, I remember reading that the sort of difficult or pretentious mother is often what drives Jane Austen's stories. So I thought, well, that's good.
Ellen, do you have a character like that you find yourself returning to?
I come back to like my the guy that I always come back to is this character that he's appeared in a couple of my books called Fast Eddie. So in my novel, The Room, Fast Eddie is he's running a prostitution ring on Nantucket out of his real estate business. And which is like a terrible, awful thing to do. The girls are Russian, he's completely taking advantage of them. And yet at the same time, he is so endearing. And, he's in a financial crisis and he needs the money. And I just feel like when I was in Iowa, like the one thing I learned, other than like this discipline, the one thing I learned is that if you love them, if you give them humanity, you can really be forgiven anything. And because our minds expand to understand that people mess up. There's a fantastic movie called The Town that came out back in 2010, I think. And it had Ben Affleck as a bank robber and John Hamm is the FBI agent. And because of the perspective and the point of view from which that movie is told, we are with Ben Affleck. He is our hero. He's the bank robber. And I think he actually kills people. And John Hamm is the FBI trying to get him, and we hate John Hamm. But it's because of the perspective and the humanity that is vested in the characters that complete reversal is possible. It makes for a great film.
I love that movie. Now, I want to, if it's okay, Jenna, am I?
Oh, no, keep going.
Okay, because I wanted to ask Ellen something about, she said a few minutes ago that, you love Mallory and Jake so much that, they had all this humanity and you knew the readers would too. So my question was, did you ever feel, wait, I wrote down something like this. Did you ever, where did I do this? Let me see. I'm sorry. Did you ever strain against, the premise of the movie that you were following that? Did you ever just say, oh, I'm the God of this world. You know what? They're going to go get married or something. Did you ever just strain about, no. Okay. Just wondering. No. Okay.
The one thing I did realize is that two grown adult people, it is very difficult, even fictionally, to make a life where this could happen. It is almost impossible without somebody finding out. It was very, very difficult. I had to create roadblocks for them to keep the novel going, but the roadblocks presented themselves, because it's just like once she had a child, it was so complicated to figure out like how this would work. And, the no matter what, like they were going to do it no matter what. And then her best friend's getting married at one point on Labor Day weekend. And I'm like, oh, now she's screwed. Like, what is she going to do? Yeah. Or like when she's going to rent the house, like she's like got all, and like, it is complex. And I was going to see them through no matter what. But it was hair raising at some junctures for sure.
And another thing I really appreciated about Mallory, and I guess that means appreciated about you, was that characters were able to speak their mind. Like there is a chapter where she overhears her guests are having a fight between themselves, and she's being insulted. And she doesn't just say, would you like a cup of coffee? She says, you're on your own tonight. And I really like that. And there was a couple of other occasions. Oh, when she calls one of those women much later in the book, after she feels that she's been, what would you call it, where she's been thrown under the and that she doesn't just say, all right, I'll call you next birthday. That I appreciated it, that she was able to vent, and that I got it out of my system too.
Yeah.
So let me see. Okay.
By the way.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
So that was a long time coming. Her last little.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That was a long time coming.
Yeah.
Which does make it satisfying.
Yeah, it was very satisfying for the reader. And okay, is it all right if we talk about, because I don't think it really gives anything away, to talk about your incorporating the whole Brett Kavanaugh thing, because we don't, right now, the unknown reader doesn't know that what hinges on that or anything. But you fictionalize it just a tiny bit, name, situation of, but would you just want to talk about how big a decision that was? Did you yourself see that coming, that you were going to take?
Yes. I was, politics aside, the Brett Kavanaugh hearings were upsetting as a woman. They were profoundly upsetting to me.
Agreed.
And I could get very, very upset about a lot of things, but the Brett Kavanaugh, because I know he was lying. We all know he was lying. He was definitely lying. There's not a doubt in my mind. And she was telling the truth, and it just did not fall her way.
Yeah.
And he got confirmed. And so I definitely went into this book thinking, I am gonna take this on. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things I did in the book is that the judge is not a conservative guy. He's a middle of the road, good, right. like somebody any of us would want to have seated on the bench. And that was what was missing from the real life Brett Kavanaugh thing. I think it was too easy almost for all these women, many of whom were left leaning, to be like, oh, he's a jerk. If he had been a liberal judge, would we have gone after him the same way? And that's sort of what I wanted to get into in the book would it have played both ways? And so I wanted him to be a middle of the road, good adjudicator, stand-up guy who was blatantly lying about what had happened with these women. And I wanted to take that on without saying exactly what happened. But and that was very intentional. It was going to be in there.
It really, because I thought it was really well done, and where it took the character. And we haven't talked about her, and I won't give, try not to give anything away, but such an interesting case of almost a totally unsympathetic woman, yet it worked. You didn't want to slam the book on her. And just when you thought, and I guess we all know that Jake was married, so that's the wife we're talking about, but that just when you think, why Mallory's so much nicer, and then you did that, heartfelt, lovely thing about his sister. So maybe you'll take it from there, so I don't give too much away. And
right. So Ursula is by far the most interesting character in the book. She's Jake's longtime girlfriend. They grew up together. Jake's sister had cystic fibrosis. Ursula was her friend when they were growing up. Ursula was the only person who would go and hang out with her after school. I mean, think about that. Think about the imprinting of that on a young, it was his twin, the imprinting of that your poor sister is alone. She has this horrible disease. The only person that comes and spends time with her and makes her laugh and makes her happy is Ursula. he falls in love with her, and that is like a forever thing. Like he will always just love her for that. She, Ursula then changes and becomes, at times like a truly just abhorrent human being, and just a bitch. Honestly, she's just a bitch at points, and yet, Jake is so like in her thrall, and is, I think, deeply, profoundly grateful to her for being his sister's friend so many years ago, and that is the thing that really ties them together. And I also think, there is some inexplicable magic in the relationship between human beings. If I did not believe that, I wouldn't be a novelist. And that there is, no way really that no matter how much he thinks of it, that Jake is gonna leave Ursula. But Ursula is a fascinating study, truly.
Yes. And I thought you did a really good job. Sometimes, when you watch a movie and a person is, let's see, what would they be doing? Oh, they're shaking hands in a crowd. And next thing you know, they've been elevated to a position I'm not going to state because I don't want to give anything away. But that you think, well, how did that happen? Didn't 20 years have to go by before? But I found that it was believable that she has that job. And then when she goes home and she runs for something, and that makes sense because she's endorsed and she has all the Notre Dame, I'm from in Lowell, Mass. We used to say Notre Dame Academy. Yeah, Notre Dame. And so I found that, and similarly, I am very much against, and I think a lot of readers are and reviewers are, I'm thinking, everyone's against coincidences, yet
Yeah.
the character of Bayer, who pronounces it Bear, is that right? He says, like, spelled like the aspirin. Yeah. That the way he's another sort of not Shakespearean, but what would be maybe, I don't know what, name Greek chorus or something, where he pops up, he, it comes in handy to the plot and for making people nervous. And it's believable. It's believable that he's there at that moment. So I'd say kudos for that.
Ladies, I have a question for both of you. And this is something that, in listening, I'm amazed, Ellen, that you made so many changes so quickly before the publication, and rightfully so. And one of the things we often ask authors is how they're adjusting in the time of COVID and everything else that's going on in our country with this, well needed and important reckoning that we're all experiencing now with how racial justice is handed out. And, we're all taking a look, we're all examining. It feels like we're living in this, apocalyptic, but also incredibly transformative and hopeful time in a strange way. And you both write so much hope. You write so much joy, and both of you clearly gravitate to comedy, to joy, to, not necessarily happy endings without any tragedy or without any problems, because those exist in everything. But I'm wondering, do you both find that you're just optimists? Is that the way you tend to look at it, that you see the dark and then you gravitate towards the light? Is it conscious? Is it innate? Is it something? I'd love for you both to kind of ruminate on that for a little bit, because books like yours bring me joy in these times, and they're the way I'm able to then go out and parcel and digest and do the work I need to do. So how do you bring yourselves to write that joy?
I don't want to cut in. Let's see.
No,
well,
go ahead.
Please do. This is for both of you.
It's sort of soon. We're still mid quarantine, and still we're protesting. But let's see. I would say this. I would say that my husband died. It'll be 11 years in September, and I remember afterwards talking to a good friend, and I said, you know, he was very sick. He had something called frontotemporal dementia. So it was, you know, it was a hard couple of years. And so I was apologizing for feeling not, you know, horribly mournful for months on end. And a friend of mine said, well, I think your default setting is cheerful. So I think that might account for something about the books. But I just, quarantine, I wrote harder, longer, finished a book, and it ends with people are being quarantined in the last couple of chapters.
Wow.
Ellen, go ahead.
Get in.
Oh.
Wow.
Wow. You incorporated it, Elinor, in your next novel.
And it helped. I saw something on television that made me think, that's it. That's my ending. And before that, because I think it sounds like you write maybe the way I do. It doesn't sound like we have outlines. Is that correct? Because when you talked about right. So I was thinking, well, this is going okay, I guess, but how am I going to end it? And then I saw something on TV one day, and I said, that's it. That's it. I'm going to work toward that.
Great. How about you, Ellen? Do you find that the resilience and, you know, the joy and the hope keep coming through?
Well, I mean, you know, my medium is escapism. So that's like a baseline. And but the thing is I was not even really conscious of that, I don't think, until the last 3 or 4 months when people started saying, oh, it's escapism. It is definitely escapism, and I'm very cognizant of the fact that my readers don't, like, for example, Elinor, and no one would ever know this, but there were a lot of politics in 28 Summers when I handed it into my editor, our mutual friend, Reagan Arthur.
Wow.
And, you know, there were reproductive freedom. There was a whole chapter on reproductive freedom, and I was all gung-ho about it. And Reagan suggested that for the sake of the story that I remove all politics, any kind of political opinion, except for the gun control, which I was very adamant about, out of the book. And I was hesitant, and I thought, am I compromising? Am I, you know, it was a tough decision. I'm very glad, because she didn't want me to get the blowback. I think she was concerned for my actual person. But I'm glad at the end that there are no politics in it, because it's distracting. And I'm sure I have red state readers, probably a lot of them. But I didn't want to distract them with like offensive politics that would take from the story. So I took all the politics out of it. And I was cognizant of the fact, like, okay, these people want to escape the news. They don't want to be stuck in it. And then the other thing, you know, I want to say is that I had breast cancer, you know, 6 years ago. And since I have recovered from breast cancer, very little bothers me. Very, very, very little. And it sounds sort of like, Elinor, like when your husband died, like once you've been to the bottom, you know, there's nowhere to go but up, and you have a new gratitude and a new appreciation and a just a calm, I would say, so that.
Yeah, I'm when you say that about what the lovely Reagan Arthur, I know her and like her very much, that I'm not too nervous, but the new book I just finished, my character gets fired from the Trump administration on the first page. And complications ensue, as they say.
And then we end in quarantine, as you said. So.
That is right. Yes. Right.
Well, it sounds like you're both very inspired by, you know, current events and the changes that we all go through, and you're able to kind of capture these moments in history.
And able to go nowhere. So I just only started, I'm up here in Dutchess County, New York, where it was Cuomo opened it. So not that I go anywhere, but I just started my own food shopping for the first time, I think, 2 weeks. Yeah, big deal. But I have another question for Ellen. Am I cutting you off, Jenna?
No. Why don't we do one more question? Because I know Ellen has like 9 other interviews.
Oh, right.
So
Yes.
let's do one more question, and then I'll wrap it up.
Okay.
I would keep talking forever if it were up to me.
Okay, well, Ellen, this is the softball of the week. Is there really such a thing as a tuna martini?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
What the hell is that?
Tuna martini. So the tuna martini is an appetizer that is served at a restaurant here on Nantucket called, it's not a drink, it's called at the restaurant called the Pearl, and it's raw tuna served in a tuna martini glass with wasabi creme fraiche and then some little roe or something on top. It is so very delicious.
It is
So the
delicious.
answer is yes, but it's something to eat, Elinor. It's not something that you can drink.
I think I had one of those ones at some imitator restaurant because it's coming back to me. And the only other thing, will you email me the recipe for baba ganoush? I mean
Yes.
it.
Yes, I will.
Well,
Yes, I will.
When you have like a minute next week. Yeah.
Maybe Ellen will do that next on her. It's cringe cooking show, right?
It's my cringe cooking show on my Instagram.
On your
Yes.
Instagram, which is great, Ellen.
The eggplant, but once the eggplants are good, I'm all over it.
Yes, I know, in season, right? No tomatoes out of season, no things that, yeah. If you know Ellen's books, you know that food plays a large role, and you could put together a whole food tour of Nantucket based on her books, which I have personally done all the time. I'm a Cape Codder, so I'm over on Nantucket, and I'm always like, oh, gonna take another restaurant recommendation from Ellen. And you're doing your last weekend this winter, right? Your special Elin Hilderbrand. She does a weekend in the winter. Hopefully everyone will be healthy enough to go. But she does a wonderful weekend with the Nantucket Hotel that she and your sister plan it, right? And fans can come and experience Nantucket.
It's so fun.
Yeah, I'm there. If we're all good, I'm there this year. And thank you all so much for joining us. One thing before we go, I just want to remind everyone, please go buy 28 Summers. I know you're already doing it. We have many viewer comments that are saying, I already finished 28 Summers. I think it is Ellen's best book yet. I absolutely loved it. People are reading, they're buying, and if you'd like a signed copy and a personalized copy, please go to Nantucket Book Partners, and you can visit them online, and you can order not just a signed copy, but you can request a personal message from Ellen. She is always signing book pages so much, so she'll write you a little note. And of course, please pick up all of Elinor Lipman's books. She wants to give a shout out to two lovely independent bookstores, Corner Books on Madison Ave in New York and Broadside Books in Northampton, Mass. In general, please buy all of these ladies' books. It is the time to spread a little joy. If you need some joy, some escape, these are your women to turn to. And please do so by supporting an independent bookstore if possible, because we would love for them to be there when we leave. Any parting words, ladies?
No, this has been wonderful, and I hope to see you in person, both of you. Someday we'll be out, and Ellen, keep it up, keep it up. Hope the tour, notice tour in quotes, is, I hope you get to relax even as you work towards your next deadline of next October.
Thank you. I just want to thank the two of you for being so gracious. This was so much fun, so delightful, such a high point in like a very stressful week. You guys are the best. I had such a great time, and it was because of you. Thank you.
Okay, you're so welcome. Us too.
One last mention, I want to make sure that everybody knows that Ellen does have a few select dates in person that are socially distanced and safe, and she is doing that. So if you would like to go there, please go to elinhilderbrand.com and take a look at her book tour notes. And we will be linking to their social media, to both ladies, Elinor Lipman and Elin Hilderbrand, social media and websites and everywhere where you can buy their books. Thank you all so much again. Thank you, Elinor. Thank you, Ellen. This was so much fun, made my day. And we'll see you guys next time on Celebrity Conversation.
Okay, thank you, Jenna, Ellen. Bye-bye.